and CEO and co-founder of the organization. And we are delighted to have you with us today. We hope you have a beverage and that you are relaxing a little bit. There, look at that.
I couldn't choose. I couldn't choose. Decided to do both.
Equal opportunity, equal opportunity. That's the way we look at it. Absolutely, absolutely. And we hope you'll relax and enjoy and add comments if you'd like. So our special guest today is Francine Steadman. And Francine is the founder and CEO of Buddha Booths and co-founder of Mindsets. Francine has been a friend and partner to GW4W going almost since our inception. And we have a few war stories.
Just a few.
Things that we've done together, but lots of fun and camaraderie. Yeah. And her mission is to bring quiet spaces to noisy places with a focus on helping survivors of domestic violence to find peace and quiet through meditation, painting, writing, Reiki, and other holistic modalities. And she's also a mom to 3 children, amazing entrepreneur, and we are just delighted to have you with us, Francine. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. I'm so glad to be here and have a little chat. It's not very often we get a chance to do a long chit chat other than when we used to be on our drives, our commutes. That was when we would catch up, and there hasn't been a whole lot of that lately.
No.
So, a lot of changes.
Yeah, nice to see your Buddha booth behind you there too.
Thank you. That's our mindful module. Here, I'll do the Vanna White.
Look at that. And just, yeah, amazing space. So we'll jump in, and you're a female leader, you're an entrepreneur, but like many female leaders and female entrepreneurs, you've had some health and well-being challenges over the years, and you've obviously been able to overcome them. What were some of those barriers that kept you from being healthy, and what was the turning point that got you going in a different direction?
So those also are fabulous questions. Hopefully we have a number of entrepreneurs in our audience who will appreciate this. And for those who haven't quite made it past to the end. So for me, I definitely have faced different health challenges over the years, and what got in the way of sort of being healthy along my entrepreneurial journey was time and money. Those are the things that we talk about for our businesses. It was the same for my personal health and well-being, and being, following my dream and bootstrapping a business and raising kids. It was just such that there was so much going on, and I was so driven to grow my business and to never say no to opportunities and to really build relationships with people that I forgot about me. I forgot that, eating right and moving my body and meditating, which of course is like the keystone of our businesses here, that's really what I needed to stay sort of whole and focused. And so there were plenty of times where my health started to suffer, and bigger things came up that I really had to stop what I was doing, take a break, step back, and realize that if I didn't take care of myself, I couldn't take care of my business or my children or anybody else. So with the, I didn't have, money for personal trainers or people to come to me. I didn't have time to go sit in a class somewhere and do those things because of commute and because of feeling that craziness of obligation to get my business moving. So I think what the turning point was getting a little bit sicker and things really impacting my body, where I really just had to step back and reassess how I was pushing myself and figure out the best way to practice what I preach, and look at how I'm eating, how much time I'm spending down and breathing, and that was really it for me. It was like, okay, some wake up calls, actually a couple of them right in a row. And I have to say that fast forward to right now, the shutdown in March was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because I was so burned out. I was sick. I was like burned out. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to keep going. So it was really a nice opportunity to pause.
Wow. Yeah. See, that silver lining. I mean, I think for, as disruptive as it was to so many businesses, as I know it was to yours, and
Absolutely. Let me drink to that.
yeah, let me drink that, exactly. but also that, you know, I also think that when you go into a place of like upheaval, like, you know, what feels very uncertain and shakes you up and really can become very frightening, scary, you know.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, I think all of us, the 2 a.m. wake up, you know,
Mhm.
what am I going to do tomorrow? How am I going to, right?
Although I don't have those middle of night wake ups because I'm so exhausted by the time I actually go to bed that I do not wake up in the middle of the night.
There you go. There you go. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think you really bring, you know, to the forefront this opportunity that we all have right now.
Yeah.
And that inner search about what is going to work for myself and what is going to keep me really connected to that sense of purpose and drive, and you
Yeah.
know, personally and professionally. Is there
Yeah.
any like 1 or 2 practices that you do on a daily basis that really work for you? Some of your non-negotiables?
I listen to chanting music every morning. Like
Oh, awesome.
that's been one that is a non-negotiable. That's been going on for years. And in fact, I'd say about 10 years ago, I feel like meditation saved my life. It was a situation of meditate or medicate, and I chose to
Mm,
meditate. I learned, and it was before all the apps were out, and I would find some podcasts, and it helped me develop some sense of there's a way to cope when you think you can't.
mm.
You know, but to remember to put on something that's soothing and to listen to something guided until you can practice things on your own. So right now, my non-negotiables are just listening to my chanting music. It's a lot of sort of comes, I guess it's kirtan, like Snatamkar is probably my favorite artist, and
Can you just
that's a
repeat that? Because that,
Snatamkar, Snatamkaur.
oh,
So
great.
she is, I think, she has just the most beautiful angelic voice ever. So that and the Tibetan singing bowls and just a lot of like that healing music that
Mm.
I really, that's a daily thing. In fact, you probably can't hear it in the background with the bells going,
Oh,
singing
wonderful.
bowls. So that's a daily thing, and also just some breath exercises. So I think that I use some of the meditation tools as sort of kind of like go-to stress relief in the moment when I need them. And for many years, it was not as much of a daily practice as it was a rescue tool. And I've
Mm.
recently, a few months ago, gosh, I don't know, it was in July, I finally started practicing 20 minutes twice a day, mantra meditation, and it has really it's helped shift a lot of things. So I'm really glad I took the time to learn something that has a little bit more structure that I feel committed to doing every day, as opposed to just like having my emergency tool.
Mm. That's
So,
great.
but it's good to have those tools. A little box breath here and there is great.
That's wonderful. It's really
Yeah,
inspiring. I think, you know, sometimes we think we never have the time, as you pointed out, like, you know, as an
yeah,
entrepreneur. And yet I think what you just said is how important is it for all of us to decide
mhm,
what are our non-negotiables and how do
yeah,
we really protect our health and well-being. So I
yeah,
really appreciate
yeah,
you sharing, you know, it's funny because I remember when we were, you know, we were both at the Center for Social Innovation, and
mhm.
that you had, I don't know when you got the 2, what were
Oh, the sound therapy pods.
the sound therapy
I
pod.
actually have, yeah, I have some here actually. Yes, they're magical. They're just they're they're um they're tactile, and just they're weighted, and they just the bells, and they're lovely. So that
Very, very
music
soothing.
just, yeah, it's really important to have little binaural beats going on.
Yeah, I might have to get myself some of those now. I'm just
You
thinking
should
about
do
it.
it. Let me know. We'll send you some.
I will. No, 100%. So we talked a little bit about that, the health and well-being side of this, but
Mhm.
you know, you are basically a serial entrepreneur, and I think it'd be great for people to hear more from the business side. Like, what have you learned? Like, what did you not know at the beginning of this journey, or when you first kind of put your toe in the water, and kind of where you are now, and what lessons of wisdom can you share with us?
It's time for another sip. Just kidding. Um, I would say that in hindsight, I would have pursued getting funding sooner,
Mm,
because doing the bootstrapping, and I'm always so grateful for people who have helped us out and done things for us as favors, or just charged us something nominal to cover costs or whatever.
mhm,
It's been really, that's how I was able to sort of get my product concept, prototype, market, and kind of keep going is by the goodness of so many people. And what I realized, though, looking back, is it would have made sense to raise some money to hire people to do specific jobs, because when people are doing favors, if they're in between jobs, the next thing you know, they have a full-time job. So then they can't continue helping, and you're like, oh, back to square one. So I think that it makes sense not to raise a ton of money and burn through it all, and but have some type of cash to hire people to do jobs. And if they don't work out, I learned something recently, might have been David Meltzer or somebody I was listening to, that was the hire slow and fire fast kind of thing of like when you take your time to build those relationships with somebody who's going to work on your team. And if they start doing things that are just don't align with the values of your company, just let them go. Like, it's just better to just move on, because otherwise it messes up all of the people who are working together. So I would say that, you know, to sum it up, if I were to do it all over again, it would be like, look for money, hire some key people, and make sure that everybody on your team has the same integrity that you have and that you want your company to be known for.
Yeah. Very aligned. Yeah. Mission, values, all those things. But, you know, you can get so caught up in the passion of doing something, and, you know, how much you believe in that. And it's difficult. And I think if you come out of the working world and you've not been an entrepreneur and not had to wear all these hats, you know, I think that's extraordinarily good advice. Is there anything that you've read about people management? Because I've heard this a lot from entrepreneurs. I never knew it was going to be so hard, you know, to to figure that piece out. Anything that you've read, or was there any specific mentor that
Oh
said,
my gosh.
tapped you on the shoulder and said,
Oh, let me go down the list. I mean, everything from what is it, like lean startup to, you know, how to win friends and influence people, to think and grow rich, to real people like yourself, Mim. You have been a wonderful mentor to me. And so I want to just give you some love here, and Nancy and everybody else there. So that's part of it. But I think for books, I devoured a plethora of articles and listened to a lot of books. But I reached out several years ago to a mentoring site that would match me with a mentor. Her name is Cheryl LaBelle, and she's actually just recently stepped on board as our COO. So we became friends. She was mentoring me. We became friends over the years, and she just has always been there to support the mission and to support me. And I think that's really key when people have mentors to support them. I would say better than any book is have a good mentor. Actually, several good mentors in different places who've done different things in their life, and to be able to share somebody else who's been there and done that, and can just sort of put the mirror there for you and be like, hey, you just might want to consider doing something a little bit differently. And as an entrepreneur, you don't always think about it, but I mean, I was the first to say I had no idea what it was going to be like to run a business that had to be my livelihood. You know, I had plenty of businesses which were fun, but they didn't really have to be my bread and butter. And so now it's a whole different deal.
Yeah, I think that's extraordinary advice. It's been interesting to me to talk to different people in our network and globally too about, you know, when we talk about mentors, we each tend to have our own view of what a mentor is and what they do. And yet there are all different types there's business mentors, there's personal leadership mentors, there's health and well-being mentors. And so I think it's interesting for everybody to kind of explore what's out there for them, and, you know, take a look at what they might need at any particular time, because one kind of mentor at one point in your life may not be what you need like 2-3 years out. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so I think it's that education, like be prepared ahead if this comes up or that comes up. You know, I've used a business mentor myself, you know, because I think it's so helpful to get, I don't want to say this, unbiased, unvarnished, but with the best of intentions advice.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and sometimes that's hard, right? When it's your baby.
Yeah, but I'm open to it. I mean, I love the pushback, because I'm like, living in a bed of roses, well, next to a bed of nails. You know, but
Yeah.
living in a place that I feel all optimistic and things are going, and you know, it's like this isn't good, whatever. But it's so nice to have somebody come in and say, you know what? Here's what I see. I've been in business for X number of years. I have this experience, and this is what I can share with you from what I know.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's related to financials. Sometimes it's related to manufacturing or production. Sometimes it's related to just self-care. So there's a huge reason to have multiple mentors and people in your life. I found that there's so many people willing to give back, and I might not fit the classic age of a startup entrepreneur, maybe a few years
Neither do
past.
many of us, so that's okay.
But actually, I think statistically, maybe we sort of fit in there. But you know, the typical stereotype of a startup entrepreneur. So it's interesting to find people who have sort of hit a place in their careers where they have the time and the ability to give back to people starting businesses, or you know, struggling to get a new message out or something like that. So I think there's a ton of resources out there for people to you know, and people love to mentor. People who sign up to do it because they love it and they want to help you succeed.
Yeah.
I think it's really nice.
Yeah, 100%. Well, you know, I mean, clearly we're in a different world than we were 8 months ago. And, you know, I know that you interact with a ton of other business women. And so interesting just to hear from your perspective, the impact you've seen
Hmm.
on working women, whether they're entrepreneurs or, you know, in their businesses. And I know that talking about domestic abuse is near and dear to your heart. So
Yeah.
anything that you can share about how we can better help women that are impacted by this issue?
I'm going to breathe on that one. So one of the concerns I had when I heard that they were going to start, people were to get quarantine, stay at home orders, my biggest number one concern was people in unsafe situations, whether it was an abusive spouse or child, or you know, a child with a parent, or whatever it is. But being in an unsafe, abusive household with school to go to or a job to go to, it kind of helped a little bit make it manageable. So I really felt for people who were struggling with an abusive partner and couldn't even imagine the pain and um, the fear that they were experiencing and the anxiety, because all of a sudden you are stuck at home with the person who makes you feel really uncomfortable. And it doesn't always have to be physical abuse. It can be the emotional abuse, it can be financial abuse, anything at all to affect how your movements of any kind, whether it's how you parent your children or how you cook your meal or what you wear. So I would say that it's definitely been um, a remarkable struggle for many, and you know, men and women.
Hmm.
Women, of course, being our primary, um, statistically, the primary victim. But I would say that it's really important to find the crisis hotline that you can text, that you can call. Everything is confidential. Every community has a local resource. Here in New York State, they have a state line, a state hotline or something like that. But just use the resources, reach out to friends, have a code word for I'm feeling unsafe, have a code word for I need a buddy, something. Or when you have an opportunity, I think the biggest problem when everybody was like stuck at home is that not having the ability to be alone. You didn't have that privacy to maybe vent or reach out to somebody or talk about really what's going on. So I think that's an issue. But I would definitely say to use the resources. There's a lot of them there, and especially all the ones that text. There's a lot of crisis hotlines that you can text.
Yeah, and I would hope that any HR professionals, you know, anybody that has a total rewards program, and when we talk about these things, but you know, too often we talk just about the healthcare, you know, and that becomes the focus. And when a crisis comes up, particularly around something like this, you know, making sure that those resources, that your employees know about those resources.
That's that's great, man. Actually, honestly, I forget a lot about how that can be an important part of a, you know, a person's life, and an HR director in particular having to communicate that those resources are there. Now, you and I both know that, what is it, EAB or something, the Employee Assistance Benefits or
EAP,
something like
yeah,
that.
Employee
EAP
Assistance Program.
programs, thank you. I'm like, EAP doesn't sound right. That people are really concerned about using those resources because they don't want their employer to really know what's going on. And they think if they reach out to a therapist through that program, that they are going to be like marked as, oh, this person's in therapy, something must be
Absolutely not.
wrong. So
Absolutely not.
I
It's
think that's been a
completely
concern.
confidential.
Mhm.
You know, so I really appreciate you bringing that up, you know, that because it is really important. And I will tell you that many, many years ago, when I was going through a divorce, and it wasn't domestic abuse, it was just
Mm.
not in a good place, and really, and look, I just needed support. I knew I wasn't myself. And I am a huge advocate. And again, like anything, you want to get the right person. So maybe the first person you talk to that EAP might not be the right person for you. That's okay. You know, it's free for you. And, you know, again, depending on what your company offers, it could be 3 sessions, it could be 7, it could be whatever it is. But knowing about that and but on the reverse side, employers and HR departments letting managers know about this. You know, here we are on these Zoom calls, and you'd be surprised what people see in Zoom calls,
I
right?
can only imagine.
Right.
And it's not even so much what you see, but what you pick up on, because
Right.
body language shifts when there's someone behind you who's making you feel really uncomfortable, and or you're trying to pay attention, and all of a sudden your phone keeps dinging because someone really wants your attention, not giving you the respect to be on your call that you need to be on, be present for. So there's a lot of that, and I think the EAP is really important. And for entrepreneurs, people who don't have those resources,
Right.
there's a number of complementary services. Again, it doesn't have to be a crisis hotline per se, but there's a lot of free therapy right now. And even having, I was just drawing a blank on the name of the resources, but just your own Facebook community, for lack of a better place to go. I mean, just there's things that you can do and share and learn, and just reach out to people. I mean, people are always there to help. You just
Absolutely.
have to, sometimes you just have to dig a little deeper than you may want to.
Yeah. And I don't think there's any harm in asking people genuinely. You know, we always say, hey, you're okay. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm great. Yeah, I'm doing this. I think particularly for managers now, it's just a huge opportunity to check in with people, not just about domestic abuse, but about mental health and stress and anxiety, and just kind of giving yourself as a manager the opportunity to learn. If you don't have those kinds of listening skills, if you feel uncomfortable with that, it's worth taking the time to getting a little, again, another coach. You can get a coach for that.
You can. Absolutely. Coaches are good.
They are.
You can have a business coach, a life coach, a personal trainer. You can have a coach in everything.
And you could end up potentially saving someone's life.
Yeah.
So I think it's, I mean, we're lighthearted about it, but there's a very serious side to this. And I just, I think it's so important for us to be talking about this issue right now. And especially now, because here in the United States, other parts of the world, but even our friends in London are in lockdown, and, it's unfortunately, we just don't know what's going to be happening. But if you even think that you're seeing something, just say, and look, everybody's going like, I mean, I know I've had, like, you have your one, I'm like, yep, having a rough day, just having somebody you can call up and say, oh, can you just listen to me for 3 minutes? I just need to talk about this.
Text a friend.
Yes. Don't stay isolated. 100%. Well, obviously we hope that all of this is behind us in the not too distant future. I mean, it's going to take some time, and yes, it's great news about the vaccines, but we still have to still see more around, how the larger population is going to react to all of this and how fast we can get it, and a whole bunch of questions, but someday this is going to be over.
Yes, indeed it will. That'll be so exciting.
And
be so nice. And I don't know if everyone thinks it's going to go back to the normal that it was. I think we really will have a new normal. And I think hybrid working models are going to be all the rage. I read an article about some perks yesterday, and somebody had posted about like sort of the end, what happens with the office perks when nobody's in the office.
Right.
And the best office perk is time flexibility.
I think flexibility is the key
That's
word
good. Yep.
post-pandemic. And it's
Yeah.
going to be different in different organizations and how you want to design that and do that. But there's also a gender piece to that and a diversity
Mhm.
and inclusion piece to that.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really going to be an interesting opportunity. You know, any kind of change, or, you know, and it's really change management when you think about it, and changing the way we do work, how we view work getting done, assigning work. I even think I hope the things like job sharing will get a little bit more traction.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, I
Wow.
think it's
Yeah.
been around. That idea has been around for a very, very long time, but never really tapped into. And I think
Yeah.
this is a really good time to be talking about that.
Do you think
Um,
somebody wants to share my job?
well, as an entrepreneur, that might be a little tougher, but you never know. Maybe we could come up with a new hybrid model. You know, let's do it together. Yeah. So yeah, I
That's
think
called
it's,
partnership.
yeah. Yeah, and I hope the other piece is that the caregiving piece of this is reimagined. This word
Yeah.
gets overused, but in this particular case, we
Yeah.
knew when we did our first research with
Yeah. You
GW4W,
guys
right?
are on it.
Front and center, there it is. It sits under so many of these issues that impact the gender leadership gap and
Yep.
women's healthcare
Yep.
equity.
Yep.
And we now can look at that and pause and say, okay, here it is. We know
Yeah.
that this has a huge impact. If we have any other major crises, major weather events, any of these things,
Mhm.
what do we need to put in place? How can we get
Yep.
really creative about supporting all our employees? And
Yep.
we always say across the gender arc, because it's important to realize that everybody has different kinds of home environments, different
Yep.
challenges, and everybody wants to show up and do the best
Yeah.
job that they can and be their authentic selves.
Yeah.
But we have to take into consideration some of these things on the back end.
Yeah.
So we are
Yeah.
almost at time. This always goes
Time.
so fast.
Yeah.
Uh,
Seriously.
but last words of wisdom, if you had a magic wand, and you would like to just wave that for women going forward, what would you do to help women be the leaders they're meant to be?
I would say, don't be afraid to step into your greatness and
Mhm.
follow your dream. It's it's how things happen. Nothing will happen unless you actually follow your dream. And the more you talk about it, the more people will listen, and the more you'll see where that path will lead you. I mean, maybe you start out with an idea for a particular product, and the more people you talk to, and then it morphs into something else, and the next thing you know, you're offering a service, or vice versa. And my magic wand for anybody, like, just if you can do something, just follow your heart and follow your dream and talk about it, and you'll get where you need to go.
Oh,
All the actions.
inspiring.
Yeah.
Inspiring and great words of wisdom, and I couldn't agree with you more. So with that, we want to raise a glass,
Cheers.
and we're going to toast to a healthier, happier, more inclusive and sustainable world.
Absolutely. Cheers to that, ma'am.
Mm, wonderful. And we invite you tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning. We're going to be having a global discussion with HR leaders. So language of leadership. How does the HR world, at the top level, really view gender equity and some of the changes that have happened? Going to be led by Karen Denchi. She's amazing, amazing leader, voice. Was the former chief HR officer at Tory Burch and a couple other major organizations. So we'll have voices from Brazil, Hong Kong.
Wow.
Another woman who did work at Monsanto at the top level. So it's going to be inspiring. We are taking a break for the afternoon wine and tea next week because it is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So we hope everybody takes time to find a little gratitude and do some good things for themselves. But we'll be back week after next. And with that, we just want to remind everyone that great minds sip together.
Indeed.
We'll see you again soon.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye. Okay, and we're done.